On the 16th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me devices that give us the ability to make us chronically unhappy. You're welcome. I'm scrolling TikTok at 3 a.m. because my nervous system's too fucked to go to sleep and I feel too anxious to put my phone down. Is that why I'm having an existential crisis? There are always going to be a million other things you could have decided to do. I'm broken. Let's address the elephant in the room. I've dyed my hair. I didn't like it last night, but it's kind of like a bit red, it was meant to be like orange, but yeah, it's just like orangey red, autumnal, wintry vibe. If you don't like it, I don't give a fuck. I mean, fluff, this brand friendly thing is really not going well. Guess what's happened? Do I have anything to share before we do the check-in? Let's do the check-in first, and then we'll see. Look how full the check-in jar is. You guys came through with the prompts and I put in a few of my own faves. So let's do this morning's check-in. We love a full check-in jar. Got a cup of tea, let's look. Okay, so this morning's check-in is, okay. What has been the best phase of your life so far and why? What has been the best phase of your life so far and why? I feel like there's a few that really come to mind. I feel like the first one is 2017. I feel like that's kind of sad to say that it's so far away. But when I was 2017, I went traveling for the first time. I flew to Thailand and I spent 6 months in Asia and then went to Australia and spent a year in Australia doing my working holiday visa. The reason I think it was such a good time in my life is because it was so pure. I was 19. I was just traveling for the pure fun of it and just experiencing it. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea how I was going to make money. I was so uncertain on everything, but I think in that way I felt so relaxed. I had no responsibilities at all, no pressure. I worked as an au pair in Australia for 7 months. And then I just bought a car. I bought this kind of long car that I could put a duvet in the back, and then did a road trip from Brisbane to the Great Ocean Road. Just drove all the way down there, slept in the car in different camping spots. And I remember having no worries. Like nothing was really, because I had nothing going on. Like I hadn't started my career yet. I hadn't started a business. I wasn't really worried about money because I wasn't paying rent or anything. I was just paying petrol for this car. I just remember being very, very unbothered by most things. And that was just lovely. God, there were just so many beautiful times. Even reminiscing on it now, I lived in an animal sanctuary for 2 months and volunteered with animals. And we were waking up at 6 a.m. to feed the cows and feed the pigs. And my whole day was focused on that. It was just a simpler time. It was very simple before I entered the career. I mean, I'm reluctant to even say like entered the workforce because I'm not sure this could be described as entering the workforce, but it was just a simpler time. I just wasn't worried about anything. I didn't have a fringe back then, so I wasn't worried about how ugly I looked every time I went on camera. No, I'm just kidding. But in general, it was a simpler time. And that was really nice. Like I don't think I'd be able to go back and do that now because now I have so many thoughts. It would be hard to go back and have no thoughts. And I'm sure I'm also seeing it through rose-tinted glasses. I'm sure there were stresses and concerns and just like regular human condition things. But that was a great phase of my life. Check-in, done. Do I have anything to say before we get into today's topic? I think this topic is ironic that I'm filming it today, considering I have spent, what time is it now? It is 12:35 and I set my alarm for 7 a.m., woke up, and I probably spent 3 hours this morning before I got up watching Hot Ones. I watched Jack Harlow's Hot Ones interview, Jennifer Lawrence, Jacob Elordi. I've just been really in a Hot Ones whole spiral this morning. And so what a perfect time to talk about being chronically online. I think the internet is fundamentally changing the way we interact with each other, the way we build relationships, just the way we see the world. I really do think it is fluffing us up. I'm definitely not on the side of we should just get rid of the internet. It used to be a simpler time, even though I was just talking about how it was a simpler time, and a lot of that simpler time, like I didn't have social media then, so maybe there is some truth to that. But I'm not in the party of we should just get rid of the internet. In a lot of ways, I think there's actually never been a better time to be alive. You know, when people are like, I feel like I was just meant to be born in the 60s. I feel like I was meant to be born in the 1920s, the Great Gatsby era. What, when the women didn't have rights? when we couldn't have jobs, when we couldn't vote? Like, what era are you referring to when you say you feel like you were meant to be born in an earlier time? Like, please enlighten me. And that's just to do with like the fashion, because dressing up for dinner. I watched Saltburn recently, and you know how they do like suit and tie, black tie dinner events and then Midsummer Night's Dream party? That, if that's the area you're talking about, agree with you. I want to do that too. She says, sat in a hoodie. There is the positives, but we're not here to talk about the positive things. This is the internet. We have to complain about things. If I were the spokesperson of the internet and I got to decide for a day in some sort of Orwellian dystopia where I got to be the spokesperson for what is and isn't allowed on the internet, these would be the things that I would get rid of and the things that I would ban. Main character syndrome. Main character syndrome is a plague born from the internet, and it is a plague to humanity. It is ruining our ability to make relationships. It is ruining our ability to be just well-rounded people. I think it was born with the best of intentions, encouraging people to take control of their life, not wait for things to happen to them, and kind of grab life by the horns. And I think that is great. The intentions were there, the intentions were pure, but as we know, the road to hell was also paved with good intentions. But unfortunately, the destination is still hell. And in this case, the destination is main character syndrome, aka people being, sorry brands, arseholes. I think it's created this like, I'm the most important, I want to succeed. If they don't like me, it's their fault, not my fault. Dump him if he does a single thing wrong. Everyone's toxic the minute that they do something you don't like. If he wanted to, he would. I really feel like main character syndrome has just removed any necessity for introspection, because as soon as something happens that we don't like or doesn't fit the agenda for what we think our lives should look like, or however a certain situation is playing out, it's somebody else's fault. I'm the main character, and if everything doesn't revolve around me, and if people aren't acting in a way that supports me in every moment, then it's their fault. It's nothing to do with me. It's their fault. They need to change. I'm not the problem. I never could be, because I'm the main character of my own life. There's like no longer necessity. And this is obviously, these are kind of sweeping statements. I don't think everyone feels this way, but dare I say it, we are all like other girls. And I think this does plague us all in some way. We are obsessed with ourselves, and it has definitely bred kind of hyper individualism over a more community, a rising tide lifts all ships type of environment, where we kind of all care about everyone succeeding and our community succeeding and being happy and feeling good, and it's like the greater good versus what we kind of have now. Me and my people are good. I don't really care about anybody else. Especially because now you can kind of go online and find people and communities and groups that validate every single thing that you're feeling. And so there's no longer need to look at and take in perspectives of people that you don't necessarily agree with and who don't validate and don't agree with the same things that you think, because you can just go and find echo chambers. You can kind of create this echo chamber where all of your opinions and all of your feelings are constantly validated back towards you, and it kind of bleeds into our daily lives in a way that we're never presented with situations that our views and our feelings and our personal opinions aren't validated back towards us. Whataboutism / bean soup gate / the need for everything to be validated. If you were a part of or were privy to bean soup gate that kind of plagued the internet for a while and still does, there is this idea that everything has to be validated and perfectly curated and inclusive of us, and not necessarily us, but every single thing. And if it's not, then it is up for criticism and debate. And this has just never been a thing for the internet. Like, we used to, I imagine, have the kind of ability to see something we disagreed with or see something that was very, very clearly not for us and just be like, yeah, okay, like that's not for me, move it along. My TikTok video about Taylor Swift and football had, I would hedge my bets and say, hundreds and hundreds of comments of people saying, I don't like Taylor Swift or football. So then maybe this video just doesn't apply to you. Someone online posted their recipe for bean soup and it just went absolutely viral, mainly because of the comments, as is TikTok culture, filled with people saying, oh, I don't like beans, what can I use instead? If you don't like beans, a bean soup video is probably not for you. We've just bred this belief that everything has to be perfectly curated and inclusive of us. And it's like, cool, if you don't like beans, maybe find a different soup recipe. And I think it's sad, and I feel like I see it more and more now, that we have bred this inability to have well-reasoned arguments, to have disagreements, because we're so used to existing in environments where nothing we believe is ever challenged and everything we believe is validated. I also think we've kind of lost our ability to, or we haven't lost it, because I think we can get these things back, and I think not everybody is like this. But I think when you spend a lot of time on the internet, you kind of lose your ability for grace or the benefit of the doubt. Someone will say a single thing, and the person who comes to mind is Matty Healy. This is going to be a controversial take. He will make a passing comment while on stage. It will find its way online. The comments will absolutely vilify him for something that in the grand scheme of things is probably not that important, not that interesting, because we've just lost the ability to kind of look at a situation, think about context, think about all of the factors that went into that, think about the fact that the people that are creating this content, the people that are subject to these kind of cancellations, are just human beings. They're not perfect, and they fuck up, sorry brands, in the same way that we do. Like, another way I feel as though the internet is kind of rotting our brains is we've kind of lost the ability to just have a human experience without the kind of incessant need to put a label on every experience. You can't just be sad. It has to be this unique form of depression that nobody's ever heard of. And I don't want to be kind of dismissive of mental illness. In fact, I think this is almost the opposite. I think because we're so hyper obsessed with giving everything labels, like you can't just be a bit sad. It has to have this kind of intellectual reason as to why you feel sad. It's kind of dulling down what depression and mental illness actually means, because some people are very, very severely depressed. Some people have severe anxiety. Some people have these kind of very severe mental illnesses that plague their lives. But we've gone on the internet and we've almost created this culture where everyone has mental illnesses. Every experience has to have a label. Everything has to be analysed. All the feelings we have to be analysed. And I find myself privy to this as well. I feel like as soon as I wake up and I feel a bit sad, all of a sudden I'm like, oh God, what's wrong? Have I been eating poorly? What's wrong with my mental health? Oh God, is my depression coming back again? Am I doing the wrong job? Oh God, I didn't eat healthily yesterday and that's ruining my day. What's wrong with me? And it's like, we can't just feel the full spectrum of human emotions. We have to overanalyze, intellectualize, and come up with these labels for every single thing that we're feeling. We're allowed to just be human beings having an experience. And that includes the kind of negative feelings, because we have so much information and the kind of rise of Insta therapy, Insta psychology, self-help, self-development. Now we're all so obsessed, me included, okay, like I'm the worst at this, maybe probably not the worst in the entire world, but we're all now so obsessed with needing labels for every single thing that we're feeling that I think we ruin our own lives in the pursuit of that. Something that really annoys me about the internet, and this is probably my worst thing, and something that I actively see playing out in my own life, and at the same time, I actively work to stop doing, and it is the kind of new language that the internet breeds, and everyone becoming regurgitations of each other. A word or a phrase will become popularized online. For example, girl math, it's giving. Phrases like that become very popular. And then everybody is saying them, and it's like we are losing our uniqueness. We're losing our personalities because we're all saying the same stuff. Have you ever met someone in real life and they are just constantly saying these TikTok things? Like, you can tell when people spend a lot of time on TikTok because the language that they use is so regurgitated from these viral trends and viral moments. And I find myself saying that sometimes, like in my mind, I'll be like, it's giving. And I stop myself from saying out loud every single time because I don't want that. I want my own personality. And I do fear, and it is funny, and it's not, I know it's not the end of the world. I know it's not that deep. Like if you say it's giving, if you say slay, I know it's not really, in the grand scheme of things, it's not the end of the world. But I do fear if we become who we're around, which I truly believe that we do, we are a reflection of the people we spend time around. And that is not just the people we spend time around in real life, it is the people we spend time around and consume online as well, because that's such a huge part of the way that we socialize now, or pseudo-socialize online. We are brainwashed by the language and the rhetoric that's used, and we aren't leaving space in our brains for our own ideas to come through and our own personality and our own thoughts, because every waking minute is spent consuming from others. And I just fear that we never really know our own opinions on things. We never really know how we feel about a situation. We never really know if we actually like something, or we've just taken in other people's opinions on that thing, and as a result we think that we like it. And that makes me scared. We used to use the internet to escape, and now we almost are trying to find a way to escape the internet, because so much of what we do is attached to our phones. And in every free moment, I'm so bad at this. In every free moment, I will be like, okay, I'm going to have lunch. I'll put a YouTube video on and watch it. Instead of watching the adverts during Made in Chelsea, I'll sit and scroll on my phone. And I worry for myself, to be honest, that I'm losing my ability to have my own thoughts and my own feelings and my own opinions, because I never give myself space to do that. All of my opinions are taken in through social media and other people's opinions. But then even as I'm saying that, maybe that's always been the case, and maybe we don't form our own unique ideas because maybe there aren't unique ideas, and maybe we used to before the internet. Maybe we just used to get those from the people around us, and now it's just happening on a wider scale. So instead of getting my mum's opinion on politics, now I'm getting an influencer from America's perspective on politics. I don't know. It's just, these are just things that I think about a lot. Like, nothing sends me more into a spiral faster than the idea of the internet and whether this is a productive thing, especially as someone who puts content online. I do sometimes find myself falling into this party of being obsessed more with what people think of me online than my actual life. I will curate my stories, and obviously even like these podcasts to an extent, and I feel like I put more effort into how my life is perceived than actually how my life feels when I'm spending too much time on social media. And this can very quickly be negated. If I take a week off, this very quickly goes away. But I find when I spend too much time on the apps, the more I spend time on it, the more I think about it. I worry that we want to be special and we want to be seen more than we want to be happy, and that we care more about what our lives look like online and success online and likes and followers and how many people watched your TikTok and how many TikToks you can get that go viral. I worry that we care more about that, and that is becoming almost like the benchmark of success over actually enjoying your life and having a happy life. And I find that for myself as well. Like, I find myself caring so much about like my crafted online presence. And I wonder, like, if I deleted everything tomorrow, podcast, Instagram, TikTok, like, what would I do? What would my life be like without all of it? And I feel like it is such a huge part of my life. I spend hours, like, what is my screen time? 3 hours and 17 minutes. That is such an enormous length of time to spend on your phone. And there have been times where that's been up to like 6 hours a day. It's only that because I spend so much time editing and filming podcasts at the moment that I'm not sitting on my phone. But 3 hours a day, that's 21 hours a week, 84 hours a month, and 4,368 hours a year spent scrolling or doing various things on my phone. And I wonder, like, what would my life be like if I didn't spend that much time? What other hobbies would I have? Because I would fill that time with something. I remember once Alex Cooper said her friends were inviting her out or something. She was sitting there laying on her phone and she was like, oh no, I can't be bothered. In her mind, she was just like, oh, I can't be bothered. Like, I'm just sitting here scrolling on my phone. I'm enjoying myself. And then she asked herself, would I go out if I wasn't scrolling on my phone? Like, what would I do? What choice would I make? Would I decide to go, or would I decide to stay home if I couldn't use my phone? And she was like, obviously I would go out. I'm only staying in because I'm sitting scrolling on my phone and I'm filling my mind with stuff on my phone, so I don't have the need to go out. God, what's going on with my hair? And that just scares me, to be honest. Actually looking at that screen time has just scared me a little bit. I thought it would be better. I have so many things in my life that I want to do, even like small things like hobbies. I want to get back into pole dancing. I would love to learn how to shuffle. I always say I want to learn how to shuffle. I want to be able to do headstands and handstands. I want to get fitter. I would love to be able to cook better recipes. I have so many books on my Goodreads list. It's actually embarrassing. 3 hours a day I spend sitting on my phone when I could be doing all of those other things. That just, I mean, as you can tell, it's making me spiral a bit. Like, why am I so obsessed with being online and what everyone else is doing online more than I'm obsessed with crafting a life in real life that I actually like? And that's why with We're All Like Other Girls, next year I really want to make this an in real life thing in some way. And so instead of it just being an online entity, I would love to take it in real life, because that's when the magic happens. The top 10 moments of my life have never been on the internet. You know, the best moments of your life are always going to be the ones that happen in real life. And so I don't want to curate a brand that just encourages people to be online. I want to curate a brand and use the internet to facilitate in real life magical experiences, I think, or something. I don't know what that's going to look like. But anyway, nothing is more apt for an episode about the internet than complaining on the internet, because what is the internet if not a place to complain? Thank you so much for listening. If you are still listening to this, congratulations, because I feel like as I'm speaking, this was a boring episode. So if you've got through this, let me know why, okay? If you've got to the end of this episode, let me know why you listened to the end. That'll be fantastic. That'll be a good validation for my soul. Remember, we're on the internet, so everything has to be validated. So validate me, perceive me. Love you. See you tomorrow. We're coming to the end of Podmas, girls. See you tomorrow for another episode. Mwah. Okay, thumbnail.